All right, welcome to my everyday makeup drawer. Today I'm going to be just shopping my stash, swapping out all these products that I've been using for the last several weeks, and I'm going to pick some new things to use throughout the summer. I did mean to film this video much earlier a few weeks ago. I feel like that always happens, but at least we're here now. And just a quick disclaimer if you didn't notice, I'm trialing a mic for this video. I did test it. I don't love the quality, and it only really seems to like work out decently if I hold it right up to my face. So we're gonna try like a one-handed shot my stash situation. But yeah, I'm just gonna start off this video by going through all the things that I was using over the last couple of months, and then I will swap everything out and we'll shot my stash. So in this section of the drawer, as you can see, I'm keeping my powders here. There's my eye primers. I have a color corrector hiding under here, and then just random tools like a sharpener, tape for that sharp wing. Yeah, just a bit of a random drawer. Honestly, I feel like I'm just gonna leave all the powders in. I don't tend to rotate through my powders very often. I'm pretty content just kind of working through them until they're done and then reaching for something else. So I've been using this one from Becca. This one's a very light powder from Becca, which I actually appreciate because my skin's very dry, but I do definitely have to pack this on to get any sort of result. This is Maybelline Fit Me. I've really been liking this. I've been using it for several months now. And then I have a NYX High Gloss here. I haven't been using this very much. I do keep it in the drawer because I use it here and there, but it gives a bit of a glowy finish, and I feel like I already have that with a lot of my like skin tints and foundation products. So this is not something I often reach for, but I do enjoy it. In this section, I have my primers, my foundation type products or skin tints, and then concealers. I think this one I actually reached for and grabbed it after I filmed my last Shot My Stash. Same with this one too from Smashbox. I'd been using the majority of these products for several weeks. And then, I don't know, I felt like I was making such good progress. I wanted to mix it up a little bit more and give myself some more options. I did have a skin tint in here from Becca that I actually used up. And this one from Cover FX, I rarely use. I only really use it if I'm like filming a video. I don't really love this. I'm just kind of keeping it in here to use it up. So I don't use it on a day-to-day. So really, once the Becca one was finished, I was only using this one from Urban Decay. And I just feel like I need more options than that, especially since these were things I was using, again, for a couple months. So again, I had reached for these two, and I've used them quite a bit as well. This one was not actually in the everyday makeup drawer. I had actually just used it yesterday for a look, and I just left it here. But these things I had all kind of reached for, also except this primer. I just found it in the corner there and have been using it since. I'm probably going to take most of these out and swap them out. Again, except this one, I'm trying to use it up. And I really liked mixing it with this primer, so I'm going to keep this one in the drawer as well. These are the two concealers I was using. I might leave the Cover FX one in, but I'll probably swap out the Beauty Blender because it's so bright, and I'm going to see if I have anything darker to use throughout the summer. This is the First Light primer from Becca. This was nice. I didn't use it a ton, mostly because it gives a glowy finish, and again, I've been using things like the Hydromaniac, so I don't really find I need the extra glow. But it was a nice primer. I also have really been enjoying the Hydromaniac. I might swap these two out for something else just to switch it up. So I'm going to take them out of the drawer for now. These ones will stay in, and then this little mini primer from Milk will stay in just until I use it up as well. In this drawer, I had my mascaras, brow products, and then a few. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. This one just popped off before all the others, so we're struggling a bit today, but in this drawer I just have my mascaras, any of the eye pencils I reached for a couple times I left in here, and all my brow products. I also had the single shadows that I had reached for. So I had this liquid one from Marc Jacobs in the drawer. I had these two Super Shocks from ColourPop in the drawer. And then I'd reached for this one after filming the Shot My Stash, but this one was like a jelly shadow from Rem Beauty. And I'm going to be taking all of the singles out and picking some new ones today. My brow pomade is going to stay just because it's my only one. These are the two mascaras that I currently have open, so they're just going to stay in the drawer. These brow products are just going to stay in the drawer. This eyeliner is unfortunate because I did like the liquid side, but the gel side is still good because the cap stays on, so I'm going to keep it in there for now. This eyeliner is also really on its last legs, mostly just because of the brush tip. As you can see here, she's looking rough. So I'm just going to keep this one in the everyday makeup drawer until I can't use it anymore, and then I will toss it. This is the brow pen I was using. This one's just about empty. I do have a backup because I've really been liking this from NYX, but this one will stay in the drawer until I finish it up. And then yeah, these were the eye pencils I was using. This one from Marc Jacobs is quite old, and I find most of my older ones, I mean, you probably could have guessed, but most of my old pencils are pretty dried out from them. I'm gonna keep this one in the drawer and make a point to like actually test it out. And then if I can't get it to work even after like sharpening it, it's gonna have to go. Wow, that's disgusting. I'm so sorry. I'll clean that later. These ones I'll put back, probably except this peach because I do use this almost every day. These ones I'm gonna put back in the drawer. I might end up reaching for them throughout the next couple months as I do some looks, and then you'll see them here in the next round as well. I just prefer to reach for eyeliners as I'm actually using them on a day to day instead of trying to pre plan which colors I might want. I just find it's been working out better that way. Same with lippies, and I'll show you that in a minute. But these can all stay. Same with these. Alright, so this portion of the collection is looking a little chaotic. I know, it's really the lippies. Like I was doing with the eyeliners, my technique with the lip products has just been to like not reach for any when I shop my stash, and instead I kind of reach for them from my drawers as I'm doing a look. I reach for something that works with it. So anything that I've been using over the past couple months, I've just been kind of leaving here to review for like today's video. Most of the lip products I've used a couple of times, like they're colors that I've been coming back to. Usually if it's like a one and done, I'll just put it back in the drawer, but for the most part, these ones have gotten at least a couple uses, so I'm feeling really good about that. Before we get into those though, let's go over bronzers and highlights. So I had reached for several liquid highlights from Unearthly during my last shop my stash. These were probably one of my less used products, but I did use, I think, all of these. And at least one or two of them I'd reached for a few times. I do really like these. There was one or two that I found left a little bit more of like a shimmer or like really small specks of like glitter on the face. So I didn't love that. Also, most of them I feel like you really have to work in with your fingers right away. There's not a lot of playtime, but they are a couple years old, so that might also be why. Either way, I had fun playing around with these. I'm gonna put them back for today. This sad looking highlight from e.l.f. always just stays in the drawer. It's just kind of something I keep if I need like an inner corner highlight. I should probably get rid of it. It's kind of a piece of shit, but alright, I have to show you these with one hand. This is the Pastel Plexi Glow from Natasha Denona. This was a really fun one. I am going to put it back for today. I had also used the Retrograde highlight from Ofra. This one's also a little less used compared to some others, but I did really enjoy it over the last couple months. And then this one was the shade Deity from Illamasqua. There's like hair and like dog fur in all my cream products. This is embarrassing. But I was using this cream bronzer from Fenty. I got a lot of use out of this actually. I've been loving it over the last couple months. This is in the shade Butter Biscuit. This one's Bali Sands from Becca. I got a ton of use out of this one as well. And then Tantastic from Marc Jacobs always just kind of stays in the drawer because I'm embarrassing and I have a second one of these. So she just kind of lives here. Alright, blushes. We had a ton of blushes. This one is the Serum Blush from ColourPop in the shade Hibiscus. I used this one several times. I'm finding that liquid blushes are not my favorite, but it is nice to layer. It gives me a nice wash. I didn't mind it. I think I just prefer a cream or powder formula, but this was fine. I also had this blush duo in from Fenty. This shade is Peony Droppa, and this one is Malibu's. A lot of the times that I use this, I just mix the shades together, but they are really nice on their own too, and I got a lot of use out of this one as well. And this one is the cream blush from Melt in the shade Honey Thief. This one was definitely a favorite over the last couple months. I really enjoy this formula. I find this to have really nice pigment and lasting power, especially for a cream. So I've been loving using this on its own or even layering it under another blush. I'm going to put this one back though. I have several of these from Melt, so I wouldn't mind reaching for some new shades. This one is a Super Shock cheek from ColourPop in the shade, what is this? Marguerite. I think I either use this one time or not at all, which is unfortunate. I don't know, the color just seems a little poppy, and I feel like, spring was probably the perfect time to reach for it. For some reason, I just didn't. I either forgot about it, or if I remembered to use it, I don't know, just feeling something else. So, I'm a bit disappointed in myself about this one, but that's okay. I got a ton of use out of some other things. This one from NARS is clearly very beaten up, but she just kind of lives in the drawer, honestly, because she's falling apart. I don't really want to put it back in my collection. I'd rather just use it every now and then until it's done. I reached for these two from Clinique. This one is Melon Pop, and this one is in the shade Nude Pop, and I definitely got a lot of use out of these. The nude one was probably my favorite, but I mean, I enjoy both. I also had this one in the drawer, which was Blossom Time Rose from Milani. Didn't use this one a ton, but I did use it a few times. It's a very pretty blush. I'm gonna put it back for now, though. This one I don't think I reached for in the Shop My Stash. I think I just threw this in, like, since then. I might have reached for this one to maybe use it in a video or a look. So if I did use this one, it was probably like once or twice, but I'm gonna put it back in the drawer. Got a lot of use out of these two as well from Cover FX. The top one is Soft Peach, and the bottom one is Pink Dahlia. I also had reached for 3 different blushes from Pat McGrath. Since I'm one-handed for the video, I'll just show you them one at a time. This one was the shade Aphrodite and More. I really love this duo. This one is Venusian Sunrise. Very fun duo as well. I probably used this one the least over the last couple months. I did use it a couple times though. The shades are really pretty individually or mixed together, so this is always a fun one. And then this one is just called Divine Rose 2. This was definitely my most used out of the 3. So yeah, that was pretty much it for all the single blushes and I guess the duos. As you can see, there's more there that we're going to talk about. Definitely a blush heavy month, but I loved it. Alright, so I feel like this is the best way to show all of the lip products. But first, I definitely forgot to show you these two blushes from Odin's Eye. They were kind of buried in the chaos. This one's in the shade Sunset Clouds. This one was probably my favorite of the two that I had pulled. I used this one a couple times. It seems like a very unique shade to me. I want to say it's like a warm mauve shade. Maybe like a rosy neutral is a better way to describe it. I don't know, I really liked it though. I only used it a couple times. Again, these two got kind of buried, but I also feel like I was really leaning on the warmer tones. This one I think I only used once or twice. This one's in the shade, is this Rosate Love? Not sure. But this one's actually quite glittery. I almost want to say that it's like a blush topper. Unless it's supposed to be a highlight. No, like it's called a blusher. So yeah, I don't know. To me, I wouldn't really use this as a blush. I would use it as like a blush topper or maybe like a blush highlight hybrid. Again, very glittery though, so I feel like I'd only use this for like very specific looks. Still very beautiful though, and the embossings are just stunning. But back to the lippies. I probably won't go through these individually because there's so many, but I did kind of group them and then I'll show you the ones that I definitely use the most. But these are all like lip balms. These are the matte tinted lip balms from NARS. These are actually, I would say, a favorite formula. I got these because I saw Lauren May Beauty talk about the matte lip balms from NARS, so I bought the matte lip balms from NARS. For real though, these are really nice. I use these pretty much year round. I'm going to take them out of my everyday makeup drawer for now, but I'll probably keep one just in my purse because I do like it as a backup. These are just 2 more lip balms from NARS as well. I'm going to keep these in the drawer because these are ones that I just use as I'm getting ready. And then these are definitely looking pretty filthy. Oh my god, don't look at that. Alright, I had to give these a wipe because they were looking pretty nasty, and they still are, but these are the other 2 lip balms I tend to use. Again, I'm just going to leave these in the drawer. These are all the lip pencils that I had in the drawer, so clearly I have a type. Really into like the pinky nudes, the brownie nudes, they're all faves. I'm kind of torn. I feel like I want to take these out of the everyday makeup drawer just to kind of clean things out. But I feel like you're going to see pretty much these exact same ones in the next episode. This section is the lip oils and lip glosses that I was using. I will say the Unearthly one is the coolest one, but it's the one that I think I only used like once or twice. I just left it in the drawer because I was too lazy to put it back. This one's a fave from Blend Bunny. As you could probably tell, I've used the crap out of it. And again, I definitely have a type. I was definitely going for some like warm neutral shades. This one from Marc Jacobs I used quite a bit, and then these 2 peachy ones I used a lot as well. This one from Too Faced honestly did me dirty. I had used this in a recent video that I posted. I think it might have been a 3 looks video or something. But like the goop and like the stringies, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. But I was appalled, and I didn't notice until after the video was done when I was editing. So, I mean, it's out there. It's on the internet. It looks rough. I'm not going to declutter it. I didn't notice that issue when I've used this before. And I do like the formula. It's comfortable, but it's definitely something I'm going to like keep an eye out for next time. But yeah, just a heads up, if you do have these, maybe don't pile it on. I'm probably going to put all these back for now and just again do the same thing. As I reach for things throughout the next few weeks, I'll leave them in the drawer and then kind of go over them next time. These were all the lipsticks that I was using. I don't think I'll go through each one, or maybe I will really quickly, but I was using both these from Juvia's Place. I actually quite like these formulas, and the colors are pretty spot on to what I'm usually into. This one is Nubian Sand, and then the one in the pink packaging is the shade Libra. This one was also a bit of a fave from Merit. I definitely used this one a few times. I think, I'm not good at pronouncing this, I think it's Antibes, kind of like French. I don't know, I have no idea. But it's really kind of unique, almost peachy brown shade. I had a lot of Urban Decay in this round. And yes, these are the old packaging. These are very old lipsticks. These were the shades I was using. Again, they're kind of like the warm nudes. There were some pinky nudes. Back Talk is like honestly a classic shade. It's almost like on the pinky purpley side. I've really been loving that one lately, but I'm going to put all these back. I had this little cool tone one from Urban Decay as well in the shade Violet. Really like this formula from Buxom. I think this was from like their 90 collection. Again, I have a type. These are the shades Fly Girl and Heartthrob. These are a bit more of like a satin or like cream formula. Definitely not a matte, but they're very comfortable on the lips and almost have like a cooling sensation. So I really enjoyed these. Apparently I am going to go through them all, but this one was also a fave. I only used it once or twice, but this is one I've definitely used before. And this one is Saucy Gal from Artist Couture. I had also reached for these two from Huda. This one is in the shade Interview, and then the lighter pink is the shade Girls Trip. I have the shade Hora from Melt. I usually use this to lighten something up, like in the center of the lip, but it is definitely a fave. This one I think I only use once or twice for like specific looks because it's a little bit on the darker side. This one is called Matte AF. I actually do quite like this formula from ColourPop as well. It is their Luxe Blur lipstick. Had these two from Glamlight. I don't think they have like shade names on them. This is not a favorite formula, and this one on the left is a lot more like pale than I expected. I had reached for this to lighten up certain looks, but I almost feel like it was still a little too much for that. And I feel like both of them kind of leave that like ring around your lip, if you know what I'm talking about. The butthole effect. So I don't know, these are not favorites. I do kind of want to try them. Honestly, I might leave these two in the drawer because these are ones I might consider decluttering. It is hard for me to get rid of things, especially like if they're barely used like these, but if the formula's not working for me, and these are very old, these are from the second Michaela collab, but yeah, if they're not going to work for me, I'm going to get rid of them. So these ones will stay in the drawer, and maybe I'll film a new chopping block video. I feel like I have a few things in mind. And lastly, for the bullet lipsticks, we had Lanny from the Lunar Beauty and Laura Lee collab. So as you can see, I reached for a few liquid lipsticks too. They're not always a go-to for my day-to-day, especially if I'm going to work, so there weren't quite as many that I had reached for. However, I will say these from ColourPop have really become a favorite for me. Unfortunately, pretty much all the writing has rubbed off. I think these were from like the Troublemaker collection or some sort of like 90s collection. I can't remember, but these are great. I think they were called like the Luxe Velvet lipsticks or something like that. Either way, they're like a nice kind of moussey formula, and for a liquid lipstick, they are very comfortable. So I loved using these. I'm going to put them back though. I feel like these might not be shades I'm going to reach for a lot in the summertime. I also reached for these two. This one was from Colored Rain. This is in the shade Sugar. This one's from Dose of Colors in the shade Let's Cuddle. I thought this one would be like a brownie nude, but it pulls pretty peach on me, so I'm not in love with it. The formula of these are really nice. These are definitely, both of them are quite old. Yeah, I don't know why I'm giving you a review. Either way, I'm going to put these back. Alright, so back to the drawer to go over the face palettes that I reached for. This one just looks disgusting from here. Oh my god, let me wipe that. Either way, we'll start with this one. This one is from Tarte, and as you can see, you get a blush and a bronzer. This one is the Breezy Cream Cheek Duo. The blush is Pink Sands, and the bronzer is Seychelles. This was a nice formula too. I enjoyed using this one. I don't know if I like the blush more than the Melt one, but this was really beautiful. This one I hadn't actually reached for in the Shop My Stash video, but after the first few weeks of using everything in the drawer, I felt like I needed just another option, especially for bronzers. This is a very well-loved face trio from me. As you can see, I really enjoy the powder. Lately, I've just been mixing the two bronzers together, and I don't find that it's too much, even on my pasty skin. So I really loved reaching for this. This one's honestly a favorite. This is a little duo from Glamlight, and this came out with their, I think, second Scooby-Doo collection. It also came out with an eyeshadow palette. These are beautiful blushes, and I was definitely intimidated to use them at first. They weren't as scary as I expected once I started using them. I might actually leave this one in the drawer for the summer because I feel like these colors and the brightness is really perfect. And I actually wouldn't mind pairing this one with the eyeshadow palette that came with it because I haven't actually used that one yet, and I feel like these would be nice for the summer. So this is probably the only one that's going to stay in. Actually, this one's probably going to stay in the drawer, but for other reasons. This one I think I'm going to keep pulled out for that chopping block video that I mentioned. This is the Bronze and Brighten palette from Pure. These shades look beautiful. It looks like a very glowy formula. I only used this once or twice, and for some reason I just was not inspired to reach for this one again. I felt like the bronzer was a little bit patchy, it was a little finicky to work with. That was the only one I really had trouble with. And I mean, this is definitely pretty old. This was from BoxyCharm years ago. So, I don't know. I didn't hate this one immediately, so I didn't want to get rid of it, but I wouldn't say I liked it. Again, I only used it once or twice. So I'm going to keep this out because as I've been filming this, I guess I decided I'll do another chopping block video. This is a highlight palette from BH, the Après in Aspen. I feel like that was probably horrible pronunciation. These highlights definitely give me like winter vibes, but they were actually really fun to use throughout the spring. They also look pretty scary and intimidating, but I have to say, when applied on the face, these were surprisingly easy to work with, and I feel like they all worked pretty well, even on my pale skin. So I really loved using this one. I will put it back though, because I definitely have a couple other colored highlight palettes that I'd like to use. This is a Spotlight palette from BH Cosmetics. This is a longtime fave. These really pack a punch, and I enjoyed using this one over the last couple months. The Fairy Blush palette from Likely Makeup also surprised me. These obviously look like very scary shades, but these were actually quite buildable, very nice blush shades, and I did use this in a video on my channel as well. And yeah, this was really fun to play around with over the past couple months. I also have this little highlight duo pulled in from Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow. Definitely not my most used, but I did reach for this a few times. I wouldn't say this formula was anything amazing in terms of highlights, but I mean, they got the job done. It's a nice formula, it's just nothing special, I would say. I'm debating leaving this one in because at least the champagne shade is a little bit darker, so I feel like this might work even better for me in the summer. So I'm going to keep this one to the side, so if I'm light on the highlights after I shop my stash, which I think we both know won't happen, but if I am, I'll pull this one back in. I'd also had this little Cheek Leaders trio from Benefit pulled in. Love the highlights, but the Dandelion blush is very underwhelming. Like, I have to go in to get some color payoff. I don't know if that's because this palette is a couple years old or if that's just that shade. Either way, not a favorite in terms of blushes unless I'm going for like a very natural, barely there type of look, which I'm usually not. But again, the highlight's quite nice, and California's not bad either. It's a fine palette. This one, though, this is the Sugar Peach palette by Too Faced. This one's very old, I know, but holy shit, I haven't used this in a very long time, but I have really fallen in love with this one over the last couple months. Usually I would mix sugared peach and peach honey together as blushes, and I love those two together. Peach Pop wasn't one that I used very much. I feel like it's very similar to that NARS one that I have in the drawer. And then Peach Pearl, I don't know what it is. Something about that formula is just beautiful. I really love that as a highlight. And honestly, I'm tempted to keep this in the drawer for the summer, but I do want to reach for other things. But yeah, I really loved this palette. Again, I know it's very old, but if you still have this palette, definitely recommend that you reach for it and give it some love. So yeah, that was pretty much everything that I had in my makeup drawer for the last couple months. I'm going to put all this stuff back and then we'll shop my stash for the summertime. Alright, so here is the first drawer, and this is where I keep my powders, primers, setting sprays, all that kind of stuff. I still actually have this setting spray on the go. This is from the Glamlight and Rick and Morty collab. I've been using pretty much just this one for the last couple months, and there's still a good amount left. So I'm just going to keep this at my everyday makeup drawer until it's used up. In terms of powders, as I mentioned, I am trying to finish up or just focus on whatever's in my drawer. However, I did find this really old, super beat up powder from Rimmel. I'm not gonna lie, I'm embarrassed. I think it's been a couple years since I've used this. This has been in my bathroom drawer, so I probably haven't used it since like right around when we moved into this house. It was before my little beauty space was set up. So yeah, I don't think I've used this since then. Again, it's kind of falling apart. It's really old, so I'm gonna reach for this one and hopefully finish it up soon. I find that primers are always an issue. I feel like because my skin is so dry, back in the day when I was like buying more makeup like this, I would always focus on primers that would help with my dry skin. So everything I have is pretty much like a glowy or moisturizing primer. But now I'm finding that I don't really use those types of primers. I'm usually doing my makeup right after my SPF lotion, and that's a moisturizing lotion. So I don't really need more moisture after that. So I actually rarely use these unless I'm mixing with a foundation that needs a little help. So yeah, I'm a little stuck because I do like most of these primers and they are kind of tailored to my dry skin. I'm just finding that I don't really need them on a day-to-day basis. Um, but I digress. I'm gonna pick out one or two to use for the next couple months, and I'll probably focus on anything I have that is like smoothing or pore filling. So something like this from Smashbox. This is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer. I might reach for this one. I don't really know the difference between these two. Maybe I'll just grab for both of them and just use them both. So this one is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer. This, whoa, this one is also the Photo Finish Foundation Primer, but it's pore minimizing. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll just use these two. I've also had this little sample from Bite Forever, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're producing makeup anymore. I think they're just doing the Bite Labs. So this is definitely very old, so I may as well just give this a try and see how I like it. Actually, I might reach for this glow oil from Soul Body. This is from the New Moon collection, and I mean, it looks beautiful in the bottle here. I really just don't tend to use products like this. I don't really have a need, but I feel like if I'm going to, I would do it in the summer. So I'm gonna pull this out, I'm gonna add it to the drawer, and then if I don't use it over the next couple months, it just might be something that I have to get rid of. But yeah, that'll be it. Well, I also have these two oils from ColourPop or Soul Body, and these are from the Limoncello collection, and that collection's quite old, so I feel like maybe I should do the same thing with these and see if I like them. So these are what those oils look like. This one's a shimmery dry oil and this one's a glow oil. Again, I really don't know if I'm going to use products like this, but I might actually reach for these two because they're definitely older than the New Moon one. So this one was the New Moon one. I might actually put this back in the drawer and then test the older ones first. And that's going to be it for this drawer. Alright, so this drawer, I have my foundations, concealers, I have some brow products, some random things like an extra lash glue, just some random stuff here. Until literally just now, I forgot that I still owned this. This is a very old Naked Skin foundation from Urban Decay. I feel like I probably should not be using a product this old, but like I can't just get rid of it without actually seeing if it's still good, right? God, this is such a throwback. So, my predicament with this drawer right now is that I'd really love to actually start to work through these foundations, but I'm not wearing foundations on a day to day. I much prefer like a skin tint. I don't want to force myself to wear foundations every day when it's not my jam right now. So, I'm really just drawn to like all the skin tints and the light coverage products here. That being said, I do want to give this a go. I want to see if it's still okay. Maybe it stinks and then I'll have to get rid of it anyway. I do also want to reach for the Wander Beauty Nude Illusion Foundation, solely because I know that the shade is a little bit dark for me, so I feel like the best time to use it is going to be now. So I'm going to reach for this one, and even though it's not like a daily preference for me, I'm going to try to get some use out of it. I think it would be a great time to use something low coverage though, and then I can also mix it with the other foundations I pulled. I have a little sample of the Smashbox BB cream, which as I mentioned, I am really liking a lot. I would love to just finish this up, and it's in the shade Light as opposed to this one, which is in Fair. So I feel like this summer is just a great time to use this up and get it out of my collection. As you might be able to tell, I really enjoy these Doing Skin Tints from Becca. I have several. Orbit 2 is a little bit of a darker shade. Honestly, it's so sheer, I don't think you could really tell. But since I have two of these shades, I'm going to pull this one. As for concealers, I think this one from Nude Sticks is on the slightly darker side, so I feel like now would be a good time to use this one as well. However, I'm kind of nervous that all the foundation or base products I'm reaching for are on the darker side for me. So I'm gonna reach for one more concealer that's a little bit lighter, I think. I have this one from First Aid Beauty. This one I feel like is almost empty. I don't know if they actually make this anymore, but since it's almost finished and it's a bit lighter, I'm gonna reach for this one and hopefully finish it up. In terms of brow products, I think I'm all good. And the only thing I really use in here is very occasionally this Freck pen. And I have this random under eye cooler, I think, from Becca. Anti-fatigue under eye primer. I don't know, I guess I'll reach for this one. I've barely used it. I don't think I have a strong opinion on it, but it's been in the drawer for a while, so I'm gonna reach for this one. And yeah, I'm really happy with those decisions. I don't know, I feel like right now I'm a little bit motivated just to focus on products that maybe don't belong in the collection and figure out whether or not I want to keep them or if they're too old. I just feel like I'm needing a refresh. So yeah, now we will move on to bronzers and highlights. So bronzers are probably the most tame part of my collection. I still have way more than I need, as you can see, but I feel like it's a bit more manageable than every other aspect of my collection. I've been getting super into cream products, so I do want to pick at least one cream bronzer, and I think I'm gonna go for this one from Milk. This is the matte bronzing stick in the shade Baked. I also have two of the butter bronzers from Physicians Formula. These were very popular back in the day. So I have the original one and then one that's a bit lighter. Yes, so this one's the light bronzer and this one is the original. So since we're going into the summer, I'm going to reach for the original just because it's a touch darker. And same with the Becca bronzers. I just used the Bali Sands for the last couple months. So now I'm going to focus on using Capri Coast. This one's also a little bit darker. It does look a lot more shimmery, so I'm excited to test this one out. Also, side note, but how amazing would it be if Becca made a comeback? Like, it's super exciting that Marc Jacobs is back, but like, can Becca do the same? I would be here for it. I think I also want to reach for this one from Tarte. This is the Park Ave Princess Bronzer, and I think I remember this being a bit darker. Yeah, so this shade looks like it's gonna be just a touch dark for me. I did test this in a video a few months ago, and I feel like it was a lot more forgiving than I expected. But either way, I feel like the summer is probably the best time to use this. I also really want to use this duo from Natasha Denona. This is the Bronze and Glow Cheek Duo. Clearly, I haven't used this one yet, and for me, the summer is all about the bronze, so why not just load them up? So I'm gonna reach for this one too. I was debating adding the Hoola bronzer because it is a little bit dark for me as well, but I feel like I'm gonna end up reaching for some bronzing palettes, so I don't want to overdo it. I might reach for this one next round. However, I am between this Too Faced one. This is Sweetie Pie. Clearly, there's an overlay, and you can tell I've literally never touched it. I think I've always been a bit put off by the mix of like the pink and the bronze in there. And I mean, the overlay I don't really love, but I also feel like now is the time that I'd be most drawn to a product like this. So I feel like it's time. In a similar vein, I have this one from Hikari. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. This was probably like a BoxyCharm or Ipsy thing, but this one's also kind of a mix of like a bronzer, blush, and then like a very glowy looking bronzer or a deep highlight. I feel like it's kind of the same as the Too Faced one. It's a bit intimidating that they're all kind of together, and the product's not really large enough that like I'm gonna use these separately. Like I'm just gonna go in if I'm gonna use this. But I do feel like now would be a good time to try this out again. So I already feel like we have too many bronzers, but we're gonna go with these. All right, so I have way too many highlights. I have two drawers plus a lot of face palettes, but summer's not only about the bronze, but it's also about the glow. So let's just, let's overdo it. I'm definitely eyeing these here. This one is a very old throwback. Oh, hi. This one's a very old throwback from KVD. This is the Metal Crush highlight. I want to say this came out with her 10th anniversary collection, or maybe it wasn't 10th, or maybe it was. I can't really remember. I don't think I've used this more than once. I don't remember how it wears, but I feel like looking at it, I can tell it's gonna be a gold glittery mess. But I wanna give it a try. Again, summertime is kind of the time where I'm okay being a little extra glowy. So I am gonna reach for this one. So I have two from Aether Beauty, and I remember both of these, if I'm not mistaken, being a little dark for me. So I feel like, again, summer's kind of the time to reach for them again. This one is called Pure Diamond Dust, and this one's called Pink Diamond Dust. I also want to reach for at least one of my Becca highlights. I'm sure that there's one or two that are a little bit on the darker side, and same with Pat McGrath. Alright, so I have these mini ones. On the top is the shade Opal, and the bottom one is Champagne Pop. I think typically both of these are a little bit dark for me, so I'm going to try them out in the summer. It's kind of giving me the same vibes as the Aether Beauty one, so I might get kind of a similar outcome from these, but I kind of want to just try them all out. This one is called Own Your Light, and it almost looks like a blush topper. I'm going to try this one out too, though. So this might be overkill, but I want to reach for 4 from Odin's Eye. They're all just so pretty, I couldn't choose between these, but this one is Rose Sky. This one is Warm Sunshine. This one is Pink Star, and this one looks just magnificent. It's like a pink to green. This looks beautiful. And then we have Moon Talk. These ones from Pat McGrath I find really hard to use, not only because they're super expensive, and I feel like my brain is still in that mode where I want to save expensive things for fancy occasions. But in addition to it being very expensive, some of them also have the most beautiful embossing, and I don't want to mess it up. Like, how stunning. The attention to detail in this highlight is honestly unmatched. But I haven't used this ever, and it was obviously a lot of money. The shade is also looking like it's going to be pretty dark for me, so I feel like I should at least try it over the next couple months. So I'm going to reach for this one. And this is the Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter in Venusian Nude. So I'm at 11 highlights now. And I'm thinking these will be in my everyday makeup drawer probably for 8 to 9 weeks. So I feel like I should tone it down. I know I'm going to grab for a couple palettes though. It's just going to be a heavy highlight season. And it's probably going to be the same for blushes. It's going to be a good makeup season. Whoops. Every season is a good makeup season. This drawer is where I keep most of the liquid and cream highlights. There's a lot of drugstore as well, also some indie, just kind of a mix of everything. I do want to reach for this sad little highlight. This is from IBY. I think I got this in an Ipsy, obviously a long time ago. The packaging has seen better days, and it's also like digging into whatever's left. But this is actually quite a nice highlight formula. This is another one that's just a touch dark for me, so I feel like now's the perfect time to use it, and I want to reach for this one. I think I might have to leave it there, again, because I know I'm going to reach for at least 1, if not 2, 3, or 4 palettes. But I do want to grab for at least 1 liquid and or cream. I also forgot I have this one from the Glamlight and Frosted Flakes collab. Glamlight is hilarious. I love the packaging. They really go all out with the collabs. But this is a loose highlight, and I think I'm going to save this for another day. Although maybe I shouldn't do that. I also have this loose highlight from Artist Couture. Loose highlights really aren't a thing anymore, I guess. But they definitely were back in the day. Please let me know if you were participating or involved in the beauty community when loose highlights were a thing. Also have this one from Juvia's Place. I didn't want to reach for these right now, but I also don't think I've ever used either of these, and they do look like they're going to be a bit dark. So I think I probably should. Maybe I'll try this one from Artist Couture. Oh my god, my nails bother me so much. It looks so ugly compared to my other nails. I might try this one from Artist Couture. This one is in the shade Purple Dream. I feel like I should try this one for fun from Juvia's Place, but I think let's just stick with one. I'm already going to be overwhelmed with the options. I will try this one out though. Should we try this one from Iconic London? I don't know if I've ever used this. I probably got this in a BoxyCharm. I feel like I should give this one a go. I also have the Fenty Glow Diamond Balm. I don't know if this is supposed to be a blush topper. I feel like if it's a diamond balm, It might just be a highlight and I got a deeper shade to use as a topper. Either way, I don't think I've used this one, so let's add to the chaos. And then maybe we'll do this one from Unearthly. This one's in the shade Gilded. I think that'll be good for this drawer. So as I mentioned earlier, in terms of lip products, I'm not going to go through the drawers and pick things in advance. It's just been working really well for me to kind of go and pick something out for a specific look when I need it. And as I do that over the next few weeks, anything I use at least a couple times, I'll probably just keep in the drawer and then I'll review it during my next shop my stash. So yeah, let's move on and see how fast I overwhelm myself with blushes. Alright, so I was about to talk about blushes, but I did actually just pull this highlight from the back of the drawer here. So why not throw this one in too? This is clearly from the Barbie and ColourPop collection. I literally have never used this. It's really hard to see things all the way in the back there. I do need a new system, I'm just too lazy to figure that out. The packaging does give summer vibes with the beach party theme, so I'm gonna reach for this one. And here's what the highlighter looks like. Alrighty, moving on. For blush, I'm definitely wanting to lean into the warm tones. I have a couple kind of reddy blushes in my collection that I'd like to reach for. Definitely some oranges and then maybe some like brownie neutrals. So let's see what we got. So, huge throwback. Let me know if you remember these little trios from ABH. This was also hiding in the back of the drawer there, and I haven't used this one in years. I do have two of these trios. The one that's in there is on the pinkier side. This one is more like peachy and orangey tones. Again, I haven't used this in a really long time, but I feel like these shades are kind of what I'm leaning on for the summer. So we'll start off strong with three blushes. I'm also going to reach for Solar Eclipse from Odin's Eye. This one looks very glittery. I'm not sure if this is an overspray. I feel like I used one of these in my last shop my stash, and it seemed like there was an overspray on it. But either way, this looks beautiful, so I want to reach for this one and try it out. I always love reaching for these three blushes from ColourPop, especially during this time of the year. This is the shade Wildcats, and I feel like this type of shade goes well with just about any look. It's a really nice neutral. This one's the shade Playoffs. It's a little bit more of that red tone. And then this one's a bit of a pinkier one. It's the shade Freaky Genius Girl. This is definitely my least used out of the three, but it's still a fun color, and I'm going to bring all three into the everyday makeup drawer. I definitely got this one in an Ipsy or Boxy Charm. This is from Kismet, and it's in the shade Mimosa. I like that this one's an orangey blush, but it doesn't like punch you in the face with pigment. It's a nice buildable formula, so you can easily go orange on the cheeks, but it's not overpowering. This is a baked blush from Quo, I think is how you say it. This is a Canadian drugstore brand. I've had this one for a long time, and it's in the shade Subtly Bronze. This is a really nice, just neutral tone as well, so I'm gonna bring this one in. I haven't used this one from Pixie very much, so I want to reach for this one. This one's in the shade Ginger Blossom, and it's almost just like a rosy neutral. I don't know, I really like this. It's not quite as neutral as the other ones I just showed you. There's a little bit more of a pink color in there. I think this is going to be really pretty for the summertime. I feel like I'm going a little too hard with the first drawer because there's literally two more, and that's not including face palettes. But this is also always how it goes. I have too big of a makeup collection. But anyway, I'm gonna reach for this one too. This one is from Bang Beauty. Again, this was probably another Ipsy or Boxy Charm thing. This one's in the shade Smoked Peach. It's like kind of giving NARS orgasm vibes. I think this will be a nice one for the summer. I feel like I have to grab for this one though. This is the Sephora Golden Hour blush. Sorry, it's a highlighting powder. This is obviously too dark for me to use as a highlight, but I do like using these as blush toppers. And this kind of bronzy one is really nice for the summer. I do think I need to stop with this drawer though. Alright, I have some ideas for this drawer. I don't want to get overwhelmed, but again, I do this every time. I have owned these from Melt for years and I've never used them, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to reach for at least one this time. Also, let's just appreciate the packaging. This is 10 out of 10. So pretty. So this duo is in Raw and Honey. This one I might reach for in the fall. I feel like it's a nice kind of bronzy neutral for like September time. It would be really beautiful to use this time of year as well, but I think I'm leaning on the other one. And this duo is in Buzzkill. This actually would have been really nice to use in the spring with this peachy shade here, but I did not, and I want to use it now. I think I'll also reach for this one from Rare Beauty. This one's in the shade Cheer. I don't expect that this will be my most used throughout the summer. Again, I'm clearly really leaning on those warm tones and the neutrals, but I do want to give myself a couple other options, so I think this would be a good one. I do feel like I should prioritize some matte blushes, especially since I have so many highlighters. And even though I just said I need matte blushes, this is made for the summertime. I need to reach for this duo from Fenty. This is Mimosa Sunrise and Sangria Sunset. I was gonna say, I hope it's not overkill if I reach for two more from this drawer, but we both know damn well it absolutely is. But I'm gonna reach for this one from Ofra. This was from the Samantha March collection, and it's in the shade Chicklet. This one has not seen enough love from me, and I think these tones would be absolutely beautiful in the summer, so I'm gonna reach for this one. And these three are from Patrick Ta. I honestly don't even remember when I got these. I haven't used these in a very long time. One or two of these might also have never been used, so I'm gonna reach for this shade, which is She's Adorable. Yeah, judging on how clean the packaging is, I don't think I've ever used this. And these are beautiful, like from the shades to the packaging. I'm really excited to reach for this one. So I think we're at 14 blushes, one of which is a trio, and I think two of which are duos. So we've got a lot going on with the blush. Let's go into the next drawer, and I might be a little more conservative with this one. Alright, so most of these are like creams and liquids. There are still a few powders, I think. Or did I make that up? Either way, most of this drawer is creams or liquids or like super shocks. So I will reach for a couple because, as I mentioned, I'm getting really into the cream products lately. And they're really easy to layer and pair with the powder as well. So I feel like I won't be taking away from the other blushes that I pulled out. So let me look through and grab a couple. Okay, so I know I want to grab this one from Muse Beauty. This is the Color Wash Cream Blush Duo. I don't think I've used this since last summer, and these colors are pretty much what I'm looking for. So I do want to reach for this one, just to have a couple different formulas and brands in here. Now, I'm really wanting to use all three of these cream blushes from Melt. So far from what I've tried, I absolutely love this formula. I used Honey Thief a lot in my last everyday makeup drawer, but I do feel like three might be excessive because I wouldn't mind reaching for some other brands, as I mentioned. So I might try to dupe out one or two of these colors. I think I'll reach for this little cream blush from Fenty. This is in the shade Peach Face, and it's just a nice bright orange. And I feel like this doesn't really compete with the Muse Beauty one because that one's a little bit more neutral. I also wanted to use this one from ABH. This one is on the newer side in my collection. This is the blush stick in the shade Bubblegum, and I feel like this will be a nice color to pair with some of the pinker powder blushes that I also reached for. I do really want to try this one from Huda Beauty too. This, in relation to most other things, is a bit newer in my collection as well. Again, I'm trying not to overwhelm myself with too many options because I do want to be able to like use all of these over the next few weeks. But I don't know, I'm on a kick lately. I feel like I should try this one out, and I don't see myself gravitating to this color during like the fall or winter, so I think I'll try it now. I feel like both of these shades would be really nice in the fall, so I could reach for them then, because I also want to reach for this one from Tower 28. This one's in the shade Beach Please, and it's also a warm neutral. I wouldn't mind reaching for literally all of these from ColourPop. These are the blush sticks from the Limoncello collection. However, a lot of these tones overlap with the other blushes I already picked. They're on the warm neutral side. One or two of them is a little bit of a red tone. So these are something I might reach for if I feel like I'm doing a really good job rotating through everything first. So if I get a lot of use out of the other things in the first few weeks and I'm kind of itching to play around with some other things, I might grab for these, but for now, I think I will keep them in the drawer. However, I will reach for this Cheek Dew Serum Blush from ColourPop. This is in the shade Starfruit. So I think I will leave it there for this drawer. I feel like I have a good amount. I have several options. All right, and it doesn't stop there. Let's get into my smaller face palettes. Okay, I just kind of quickly went through the drawer so that this video isn't 4 hours long. I feel like this is going to be repetitive. I know I've reached for some of these before, but these are just the usual suspects for a reason. I want to reach for this duo from Pacifica. I do have a couple of these duos. This one's definitely a little less used than some others, but I feel like the tone of blush and bronzer is kind of fitting for the summertime. The bronzer's probably going to be a bit deep for me, so I feel like I'd rather use it now than in the winter. And I feel like this blush, I mean, I know I have a lot already, but at least it's not too similar to like the neutrals and reds. I do have one or two of these pink tones already, but I did want to reach for this one now. I also have this little trio from the BH and Doja Cat collab. This one's always a favorite for the summertime for obvious reasons. I'm loving the orange, and again, the warm neutrals are just kind of my vibe right now. And this trio is called Poppy. I also have the Coral Kaboom Blush Bomb by Carity. This is definitely in the same vein as some of the other ones I've already picked. But it's a little bit different. There's a much more muted orange on the end there. Even the one in the middle isn't like the most poppy. And I also really like the warm, almost yellowy highlight. So this one's always a go-to for the summer. One that I have not used yet is the Resurgence kind of face duo from the Unearthly and Heather Austin collab. This is like a little highlight duo, and I think these would be perfect. I like that there's a really light but still kind of pinky leaning highlight. And then the darker one I will just use as a blush topper, but I haven't used this yet and I think it looks stunning and I'm excited to reach for it now. And I think lastly in this drawer, I wanted to reach for this one, I think. This is the Stella palette from Adept. This one I haven't used very much. I feel like these tones would have been nice in the spring, but I do also think they'll work very well in the summer. These blushes are not incredibly pigmented, but they are very glowy. It's definitely like a blush highlighter hybrid. And then this palette also comes with an actual highlight. So I'm really excited to try this one out. I have so many cheek products pulled. It's insane. I am eyeing more. Like hypothetically, if I also reached for the Metal Crush highlight palette from Kat Von D, would I have too many? I feel like these colors are very fun. They do look a little bit glittery. I think I'll reach for this one. I'll put it in the everyday makeup drawer, but I'm not going to be that hard on myself if I only use it like once or twice. Because I'm quite sure this is a glittery formula and I want to focus on really getting my thoughts on the single. But these look fun, so I am going to reach for this. Alright, so let's move on and try not to pick more than another 15 face palettes. So the Blend Bunny Juicy Cheeks palette was obviously made for the summer, so we're going to reach for this one. This one from Melt, I literally have never used. This one is called the Minaria palette. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. This one I feel like is giving me all the vibes I want for the summer, and it'd be perfect even going into fall with those deeper shades. So I'm going to reach for this one. This one might live in the drawer for a long time. I do want to reach for at least one of these blush palettes from BH. The top one is Blushin' in Bali, and the bottom one is Glowin' in Greece. I feel like both of them would actually be quite beautiful for the summer. I am leaning on the bottom one though, Glowing in Greece, so I think I will reach for that one. Since I reached for a Patrick Ta single, why not use one of these face palettes? Again, you can tell by how clean the packaging is. I don't think I've ever used either of these, which is a damn shame. This one is the Major Headlines Blush Palette. I think this was the first one he came out with. These colors are like perfect for summer. I don't know. I am tempted to reach for that one. And this one is the Major Headlines Palette Volume 2. This would also be perfect. I feel like this middle column especially kind of gives those like sunburnt, almost red but not quite red blush vibes. I feel like it might be a bit overkill to reach for both. I feel like I'll reach for the punchier one. I'll reach for the original, and this one might be more of like kind of a winter spring palette. I think I will stop there. It is tough because I feel like I was gonna say summer's really like the season for blush, but Honestly, I feel like every season is, and I feel like it's not fair for me to say that when I just went on about how I wanna be bronzy and glowy. Either way, I feel like I'm always wanting to reach for everything. I love blush. Oh, what about this one? No, I think I need to stop. I have many options, so I think I'm gonna call it for this drawer. There is one that I specifically want to reach for the summer in the next drawer, so don't judge me. This drawer is like a mixture of blush and highlight, but it's primarily like highlight heavy palettes. There is a duo that I've been wanting to use that I've never touched. This duo is from Colored Rain in the shade Rose Love. Obviously, the highlight's busted, which is a bit unfortunate, but as you can see, the blush is pretty much everything I want for the summer. The highlight should also work pretty well for me, even though it's a bit busted. I'll just have to be a little delicate, but I really want to reach for this duo. Again, not wanting to overwhelm myself, but I love a colorful highlight. Let me think about the options here. I don't think I've used this palette more than just a couple times. This is from BH, the Illuminating Ireland, and I'm sure you can tell I'm really eyeing that bottom row. This is a beautiful palette, so I want to reach for this one. So I know I said no more blushes, but this was hiding in this drawer, and I feel like these are all glowy, so maybe they get a pass. I actually don't think I've used this palette yet. This is the Orgasm on the Beach palette, and if that doesn't say summertime, I don't know what does. I definitely have too many. I'm well aware I'm overcommitting, but I feel like this one is just perfect for the summertime, and I would like to give it a try. All right, in my last shot, my stash, I had reached for the Spotlight palette from BH, which is right here. I love BH highlights, they are very intense, and I don't think I've ever used the Backlight palette. So I want to give this one a try. This one I'm going to assume is the same intense formula, but these are mostly colored highlights, and I feel like this would be really fun for the summer. And I'm just going to be bathing in highlights because I also want to reach for this one from Odin's Eye. I'm a little less familiar with the warm shades, and what better time to use them than the summer? This is a little highlighter duo from Unearthly, and it's called Get Groovy. These shades would have been perfect for the spring, but this is definitely one that I overlooked. And I feel like with the warmth of the shades, they would still work very well with the summer. I think they'll go with a lot of the blushes I picked, and the green one, Slick, looks really fun. So I'm going to reach for this one too. There's definitely a few more that I'd like to reach for, but I think I'm happy with the ones I picked so far. So let's move on to the final drawer, which is mostly bronzers or like all in one face palettes. It's funny that there are definitely like more blushes in this drawer. Clearly I have a problem. So I have the bronze palette from Natasha Denona, which is the one on the top, and then I have the tan palette, which is on the bottom. I actually reached for the bronze palette lately, and I feel like it's always a fun one for the summer. I really like the face palette. You can probably tell I've actually never touched the tan palette, so I feel like in theory I should reach for that one. But I think because the bronzer at the bottom looks a little less warm and a little more matte, I'm not really getting the summer vibes. That might be one that I reach for in the fall or winter. I think I'm still leaning on the bronze palette, which is the top one here. So this one is going to go in the everyday makeup drawer. I might also reach for this palette from Ace Beauté. This is the Bronzed in Paradise, and it's all, bronzers, obviously. The shades in this one go pretty deep, so I do feel like summer is probably the best time for me to use this. I feel like this is potentially one I could see myself decluttering, just because even in the summer, I feel like the last two shades just won't really work for me. This might end up in a chopping block video. I think I'm just gonna have it in the everyday makeup drawer for now though, and that way I can get some use out of it in the meantime and kind of figure out how I feel about it. I think these two will be it from this drawer. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't really need that many bronzer options. That's kind of more of a boring step in my opinion. And I'm really excited to dive into really all the highlights and the blushes. So yeah, I'm going to put these all into my everyday makeup drawer, and then we'll get into the eyeshadow palettes. Alright, so we're back. I took a bit of a break for a few days. So if my nails look even more grown out than they were, yeah, that's that's the situation. Anyway, this is kind of where I'm storing my like seasonal eyeshadow palettes. So this is repetitive if you've seen some of these videos before. I feel like I say this in every video, but I have a pretty huge eyeshadow palette collection. So what I've been doing on a seasonal basis is going through pretty much my whole collection, reaching for all the palettes that I'm kind of inspired to by that season or at that time, and then in theory trying to put them all in here. But if I'm being honest, there's more than just this. So this is kind of the primary spot of where I keep my seasonal palettes, but I'm not even gonna lie, I have like another 2 or 3 boxes in my closet. So it's a lot. And in my previous Shop My Stash videos, I was going through my other drawers, which those 2 other drawers on the left are where I'm keeping more eyeshadow palettes. So I was going through those as well, but I feel like I get a bit overwhelmed with that strategy because then when I reach for like another 20 palettes, I don't have anywhere to put them. And then the room just becomes chaotic because there's palettes everywhere. So I think for this video, I'm just gonna go through these drawers. I'll show you the palettes I'm planning on reaching for, and I might not grab for any new ones in this video. I do feel like that is a little bit less fun, but I feel like it'll also be a little less overwhelming. So you'll have to let me know if you really miss that part of the video. If that's something that you still want to see, I can do it in my next one. I'm just going to try to go without it this time. But anyway, let's just go through the drawers. Here is the first one. And we have the Forget Me Not from Blend Bunny, which has been featured in a couple of my palette roundup videos. I've been using that one a lot. We also have the Pastel Garden from Bella Beauté Bar. Maybe I will show you the fun ones. It's kind of hard not to. They're so pretty. I enjoy looking at them. I want to show you the palettes. But anyway, this is the Pastel Garden. I also have the Sickly Sweet palette back here. I have a few palettes from Nomad. This is one of their older ones. This one definitely gave me like kind of spring going into summer vibes. I feel like it's a really pretty color story. This one's an old one from KVD. It's all like kind of iridescent. It's supposed to be toppery shadows, but I mean, the formula is definitely a little bit dated. We have the Nubian Earth from Juvia's Place. Just a really pretty neutral option for the summer. And then we have 3 indie palettes here. There's one from Wicked Widow, there's one from Unearthly, and then the Queen Bee from Colored Rain. We have 2 really old palettes from Sugar Pill. We have the Avatar and Lethal palette. This is the Air palette. I also reached for the Unearthly So Strange palette. This definitely gives like a Halloween vibes as well, but I feel like when I looked at the color story, I was still definitely getting some summer inspo. Like even the color combination of like green and purple is a bit more spooky, Halloweeny. These kind of orangey reds here kind of play into that. But the colors are so bright and very punchy, so I feel like depending on the type of look you do, you could go very spring and summer with this as well. I don't know, this is a fun one. And I have the Rococo from Musée Beauty. I said I didn't want to go through each one, but I feel like it's really boring just to like quickly show you the cover, so maybe I will try to quickly go through each one, even though it is a pain. Anyway, I also really love the packaging of pretty much everything Musée Beauty did. It's really pretty. I have the Spanglish palette from Alamar Cosmetics. This might have been a BoxyCharm palette, or I might have gotten it in one of the BoxyCharm sales. I know I got the first palette they did in a BoxyCharm, and I think I liked it so much, I might have sought this one out. Not as good though. I do find the color story a lot less inspiring than the original palette they did. We also have the Ethereal Bloom by Artist Couture. I feel like this one was so hyped when it was released. The color story is really cute, pretty, very springy. Quality is not any better than some of my other colorful palettes, so not a favorite, but I do like having this one around. And I feel like even just the packaging alone just really makes me happy. This is so cute. I also grabbed for the Brew palette from September Rose. This one can definitely also qualify as a fall palette, especially with the green and like burgundy and the mustardy yellow. But I feel like it's still really nice for the summer, especially like I feel like I get summer night vibes with this palette. You can get something really bronzy, it's all kind of warm toned. So I feel like this is a really good palette, really for both seasons. It's kind of nice to transition. I might keep this one in the drawer for a while. Also have the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes. Again, this one is a little bit of a fall palette too, but I feel like a lot of these tones still work for the summer. This is the Perception palette by Midas Cosmetics. I think I featured this in another video, like I think palettes I'm reaching for in the summer, something like that, last year. Unfortunately, I don't think I used this more than like maybe once. And this definitely gives like summer night, going out to a party or something. It gives me those kinds of vibes. I don't know, it's just a very fun color story, so I do want to use it more this year. I also grabbed for the Strawberry Milkshake palette by Unearthly. I think it's going to bother me that I skipped over the first couple palettes, so I'm going to show you those quickly too. But these are the two sugar pill like capsule palettes or whatever they were called. Here was the Queen Bee from Colored Rain. This is a stunning palette. Again, also reached for the Thinking of You by Unearthly. And this one was the Lovesick by Wicked Widow. I don't know. Looking at this now, I feel like I'm not getting full on summer vibes. It might be more of like a winter going into spring palette, but I did reach for it. I have used it since I pulled it out. I do think it's a beautiful palette regardless. It's just funny that like the mood and inspiration can change so quickly because obviously I reached for it for a reason and now I'm like, meh, I'll probably use it more in February. And then this one was the KVD palette. I have the Glow palette from Ensley Rain. This also feels like it could definitely be winter going into spring kind of colors. It does look like a very fun palette, so I wanted to reach for it just in case I am inspired to use tones like these. There's also a lot of pastels in it, so I feel like you could still get summery vibes. I don't know if I'll be super inspired to reach for this over some like bronzy or bolder colors, but I did want to reach for it. It's a really pretty palette. I haven't used it yet, so I don't know. If I'm feeling like some pastels, I might reach for this one. I have the Flower Bomb from Midas. Don't love the glitters, but the color store is really fun, and this is definitely giving me the summer vibes. I also decided to keep in the Spring Magic palette from Unearthly for another season. Please let me know if you remember when this palette was released. This is super old. I had this in the drawer here for the spring Shop My Stash as well. Didn't use it. I decided to keep it in for the summer too. I really don't know if I'm going to be inspired to reach for this though, but let me show you the inside. God, makeup used to be so fun. Like, look at this palette. This is adorable. I think just the fact that the formula is so outdated now is what stopped me from using it before. The color story is fine. It's really nothing special. It would be fun to dip into this as a throwback, but I don't know. I don't know that I want to reach for it over some of the other palettes that I picked, but I'll leave it in the drawer just in case. Oh yeah, here's the Sickly Sweet from Blend Bunny. I also have the Spectral palette from LH Cosmetics. Beautiful packaging, overrated palette. Maybe I shouldn't say overrated because I feel like when this came out, this was actually really fun. The color story I find is very interesting. It's cute. And I mean, LH Cosmetics definitely offers much more interesting formulas than this now, so maybe that's unfair. This is also just a very old palette. She is cute though. I feel like it's a fun, springy, summery palette. Also not one that I've used yet, but this is the Glaminatrix Pretty in Pastels. And here's what this palette looks like. Alright, I'm sorry, there's not really like a good angle to do this, but here's the second drawer, and I'll go through each of the palettes pretty quickly. A lot of these I did also actually have here like throughout the spring too, some of which I used and of course some of which I didn't, because again, I have too many. But let's just go through these. This was a really fun time in the beauty community. This is the Pure and Raw Beauty Christie collab. And it was a double-sided palette, so here is the more neutral side, and then there was a fun, colorful side. Huge throwback was the BH Cosmetics and Carly by Belle. This was the second palette I believe they came out with. I don't have the first one, but this one was just good enough for me. This one's been pulled since the spring as well. I didn't end up using this, but I would like to because it's such a throwback. So I'm going to keep it in the drawer for now. I also reached for these from Colored Rain. The bottom is the Botanical palette, and the top one is the Rose Garden, I believe. Yes, Rose Garden. These are really cute little six pans, so I wanted these in the drawer too. Also reached for a couple from Viseart, including this one. This is the Paris Love Letter. This one definitely gives more spring vibes in my opinion, but I wanted to keep it in the drawer just in case I wanted something really quick and easy, really soft. I feel like this is a good option. And this is the Tryst palette from Viseart. I also kind of get springy vibes from this, but I had this in the drawer in the spring rotation as well and didn't use it, so I wanted to leave it in just in case I'm inspired to use these tones. We have the Juvia's Place Nubian Coral in here. I also reached for the Lime Crime Venus. Also reached for the Kai Love Les Jardins palette. This is volume 2. This is the Kai Love slash Musée Beauty Honore palette. I have the Jouer French Riviera. Again, this is definitely for when I'm wanting like a very light wash of color. Not the most impactful palette, but it is really pretty. I thought the Nobla Dreamy would be a really nice one for like a summer date night sort of vibe. Also have the Glamlight Chocolate Martini. This is the Midas Soft Served. Sorry, the Midas Served Soft. And then the Tartlet in Bloom. Honestly, I feel like the majority of this drawer was like my actual palettes that I chose for the spring round, and then I just left them in because I felt like they still kind of fit for the summer. This is the iconic London Day to Slay palette. This is one that, in theory, I would like to get rid of, really just because it's so bulky and unnecessary. But it's actually a really pretty palette. I don't think it's anything special in terms of formula, but I don't know. I like the tones, it's easy to use, it's a nice palette. Not like I have 400 of these, but I don't know, it's hard to get rid of this one. We have the Tarte Clay Play. I always like adding palettes like these that are all matte or very basic because I feel like these are perfect to pair with like indie shadows or multi-chromes or special shades. So I love having palettes like this available in the drawers. I also have the Nearly Natural from Glaminatrix. I'm not gonna lie, this is in the Basket of Shame. I haven't used it and I've had it for years. It's a beautiful palette. This is the Willy Wonka palette from Glamlight, also in the Basket of Shame, I'm not gonna lie, and these colors are stunning. If you would like a video on any of the palettes that you're seeing, please let me know. Maybe it'll give me the motivation to actually like push myself to use the pretty palettes that I'm too afraid to on a daily basis for some reason. Either way, this one's in the drawer and I am planning on using it this summer. This is the Glamlight A and Betty Boop, also Basket of Shame, but this is absolutely stunning, and I feel like, I don't know, reds are kind of iffy because I love like a red smoky eye. It does kind of feel like more of a winter thing, but I don't know, I feel like this palette could really play into a lot of seasons. I'll see if I can create something fun with this one. And yes, I keep the packaging for a lot of the palettes. Usually it's cute, sometimes it's unnecessary, but anyway, also left the Celestial Garden in from the last time, I believe, as well. This has been in the drawer since the spring. We also have the very beautiful and very old Nomad Marrakesh palette. This one would definitely be nicer in their newer formula. A lot of these are just satin shades. So in that sense, it's a bit of an underwhelming palette, but I feel like the color story, I don't know, it's really perfect for summer. And yeah, I don't know, I'm just really drawn to this color story for the summertime. I also have the Moonshroom from Lunar Beauty, which arguably is a really nice fall palette, but I also reach for this as like a grungy spring palette. I feel like you could also get some summer looks with it, so this one's just gonna hang out in the drawer still. Pastels are so fitting, I feel like, for both spring and summer, so this one's gonna stay in the drawer as well. This one's been in since the spring. And it's the BH Lost in Los Angeles. I also added the Mimosa palette from the BH Weekend Vibes line. This one was a very summery palette to me. Very bright, warm tones, and I feel like it's a really fun one for the summer. Also have the Carity Just Peachy in here, the Nomad Harajuku, the Hooded Beauty Desert Dusk, definitely a summer slapper in my opinion. And the Sugar and Spice from Glaminatrix, I feel like is a bit of an oddball. This one was in for my kind of spring shop my stash as well, and I just felt like, I don't know, the neutrals do give me wintry vibes, but something about it, I didn't want to put it away quite yet. Alright, here's the third and final drawer. Let's just power through these. So this first one is the Mini Charms palette from Beauty Bay. This one I usually keep in my drawer with the other all shimmer palettes and stuff like that. But I've incorporated this palette into a couple different looks now, and I figured I might just keep it in here. And that way I might be more inclined to actually reach for it even more throughout the summer and get more than just one or two uses out of it. So I'm just going to leave it in the drawer for the next couple months. So I have the Geodes and the Monsoon palette from What's Up Beauty, and I would freaking love to get their other two palettes I think they have now. These are beautiful. Their two new ones look even more beautiful. Obviously, I have more palettes and I can actually get through, so really can't justify those right now, but oh my gosh, they're on my wish list for sure. They're beautiful. Anyway, here is the Geodes palette. This one is the Desert Monsoon. I have a couple from Juvia's Place. So this one is the Tribe palette, and then the Warrior, which is obviously really perfect for just a neutral bronzy look. I also reached for Where the Wild Things Grow by Sydney Grace. This one was pulled in since the spring. It's definitely more of a spring color story in my opinion. But I don't know, I think the shade Buttercup there really kind of made me feel like it could work for the summertime too. Also grabbed for the Sugar Pill Fun Size 2. The Soph X Makeup Revolution palette is falling apart as you can see, but I reached for this one. Also reached for the Ace Beauté Scarlet Dusk. This one is absolutely beautiful for the summer. Artist Couture Supreme Mauves was in here since the spring, but I felt like it was a nice summer one as well. And same with the Unearthly Bunnies palette. Another one from Juvia's Place, this is the Saharan 2, and the original Saharan palette. I also have the Diver and Gloomy Gardens in here for the summer. I can't seem to figure out what season this palette really resonates with, in my opinion. I did pull for this for my Spring Shop My Stash as well. I don't think I ended up using it. I don't know, it's kind of like a gloomy, wintry palette, but then those bright pops make me feel like I can definitely do something spring and summery, so I'll see if I end up reaching for it. Another one from Musée Beauty, which is perfect for the summer. This is the Impressionism palette. We have the beautiful Lorac Soleil palette. Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels, also one I reached for this spring, but I didn't really want to put it back yet. We have a couple from Sigma. This is the Diana Saldana collab. Definitely did not need this palette. I don't know what prompted me to buy this besides the fact that it looked like a really beautiful color story. But like, so does everything to me. Where do I draw the line? Anyway, I have this palette. I think it'd be really nice to use this season, so I would like to. And same with the Little Mermaid palette. We have one more here from Blend Buddy, which is the plastic palette. We have the Coastal from Simply Posh, which is giving me all the summery vibes. Also my basket of shame. I don't mind outing myself. The Venus XL2, definitely another kind of spring one, but I added it to the drawer in the spring and I haven't used it this year and I just feel guilty putting it back without doing anything with it. I feel like that shade Phoenix on the bottom can give me a really nice kind of bronzy smoky eye too, so I wouldn't mind playing with this one before I put it back. The Gimme Glow Vivid Rose would be a really fun one for the summer, mostly because of those super bright pinks. And we'll finish up with some Nomad. Yes, I have two of the America's Parks palette. I might have caved when they re-released three of their OG palettes in the better formula, because I am a fool. But I did it, and I don't know, now I don't want to get rid of the original either, though, even though I probably absolutely should. But for now, they're both here, so I'll show you one of them. So here's the updated America's Parks. Shimmers look 10 times better than what they used to. Would like to reach for one of these too, at least this season. I also have the Fairy Tale Europe palette, which I really feel like could work year round. They kind of give you a little bit of everything with the shimmers here, so I'd love to get some more use out of it this summer. I have the Orient Express, which has like really fun, almost like not velvet, but like fabric packaging. Cute, very cute palette. The color story is a little iffy. I feel like when I open it, my immediate impression is that it's like kind of boring. And then I kind of go into thinking that it's also more of a fall palette. But I don't know, I've used it a couple times over the last week or so, and I feel like there is a lot of versatility with it. I don't know, I think I'm just a little pleasantly surprised by the palette. It doesn't really look like anything impressive again right off the bat, but it's kind of like a fun underdog palette. And then I have the Route 66 palette, which I feel like is a very fun one for summer. Even going into fall, I feel like there's some really pretty sort of muted tones in here, and I'm excited to use this one. So yeah, again, here are the drawers. This is kind of where I get ready, and these just kind of stay beside my vanity. Like I said, I do have another couple boxes in my closet, so I feel like once I kind of work my way through some of these, I might swap them out just so that the other ones are at the forefront. But yeah, again, let me know what you think of kind of reviewing the palettes this way, or if you prefer that I go through my other drawers and pick out some more. I know that is kind of fun, so I am open to doing that for the next video if it's preferred. But before I wrap up the video, I do want to pick out some single shadows, so let's do that next. Alright, so this kind of little dresser is where I keep, again, a couple more palettes, but I also keep all my liners in the top drawer. This one's mostly like colorful eye pencils. This one's all like the black, brown, neutral, gel, and liquid liners. I have a couple extra eye primers here. I have a lot of wet liners here and like kind of shoved in the back. This drawer is definitely more of like an as needed thing because I'm not reaching for like a cake liner before work, for example. So I'm not going to pull for anything from here. But if there are things that I reach for a couple times over the next couple months, then they will be in the drawer at the next episode, and then I'll kind of show them to you and talk about them then. This drawer is where I keep all the actual like things that I would consider single shadows. So I have a bunch of Super Shock shadows, a lot, I guess, as you can see. We've got some Jelly Much shadows. We have some kind of jelly shadows and stuff from Unearthly. I wouldn't mind reaching for 2 or 3 like I did last time. I feel like that was really successful for me because otherwise I probably wouldn't think to use them. I definitely like having a couple in the everyday makeup drawer, so I'm gonna go through these and kind of pick ones that give me the summer inspiration. Okay, I feel like that went pretty quickly, but I actually reached for several things. And you know how I love to overwhelm myself. But I reached for both of these. I think they're called eye lights from BH Cosmetics. Yes, right there. Eye lights. Again, like everything else in my collection, these are very old. I did use one of these actually relatively recently, and I mean, at least in the lower lash line, it did just fine. But yeah, these colors I feel like are very summery, so I feel like it's a great time to reach for these. Also, really wanted to use these from Ace Beauté. I think these go with the kind of green and yellow palette that I actually just showed you. I forgot that I reached for that one, so this is perfect timing. These are the Tropical Vibes Glimmer Shadows. This one is stunning. This one's in green hibiscus, and this one is lotus leaf. I have this adorable little moon dust shadow from Urban Decay. This one's in the shade Starlight, and I feel like it's a fun one for the summer season. Also reaching for another couple Super Shocks. This one's from ColourPop in the shade Ripple. Just a really pretty purple shade with what looks like kind of blue and green specks of shimmer in there. And then I also grabbed for the Lawn Party Super Shock Duo, and this was from the Daisy Does It collection. This comes with the shade Beloved, which is just a really kind of pale yellow. And then we also have Entranced. So I feel like that should do it with the singles. We have 3 Super Shocks. We have 2 basically Super Shocks, a Moondust shadow, and then 2 liquid shadows. So yeah, I think I'm feeling pretty good about everything I picked. I'm gonna go shove everything back in the drawers, hopefully make it look nice and organized. And I'll be back in a second to show you the drawer and wrap this up. All right, so it's a lot. Let me see if I can zoom out. Yeah, like we have a lot going on in the everyday makeup drawer. So here is where we have the powders. I squeezed all the eye primers here, and then I squeezed whatever I had saved for the lippies just in this corner here. I did put the Becca powder back. That is one that I'm wanting to use up since I have a backup, but I think my focus first is on using the Rimmel one, and it's just I don't need like 5 powders in the drawer. So that one I put back, and then I just have the Maybelline one, the next one's underneath, and then the Rimmel one. For the lippies, this is definitely not a solution when I start like adding them to the drawer as I use them. So what I've done is I've just put, please don't look at my dirty sponge, as I draw attention to it. But I had one of these. This isn't my favorite like storage solution, but I feel like it's just gonna have to work, at least for now, because the drawer is just way too packed. I might keep like the balms and stuff and the lipsticks that I'm like trialing here. And then anything I'm actually using like throughout the day and like for completed looks, I will keep in that little spot there. Anyway, all the base stuff in terms of like foundations and concealers, primers is still here. Looking a little full, but that's fine. Here I'm still keeping the eye products, mascara, liners. I kind of had to squeeze the cream bronzer here. And then I put all the little singles and stuff here. God, this part of the drawer is absolutely wild to me. There was not really like a good way to do it. Like, not all the blushes would fit, apparently, in even 2 spots. So I'm a little bit bothered that I have like blush here, blush here, blush here, and then all around here, but I think this is just gonna have to work for now. If I find a better way to organize it, I will, but right now this just kind of works, sort of. So as I mentioned, the cream bronzers here. I have more liquid and cream products here. The 2 bigger packaging things, so the bronzer and then the highlight from ColourPop is here. More bronzers here, also 2 highlights. Everything's kind of scattered. There's another cream here and a liquid here. Just blushes and highlights are everywhere. They're taking over. And then as you can see, I put all the palettes over here, including some of the smaller duos just because there's no space. So yeah, this is the full drawer. It's definitely looking a little overwhelming already, I'm not gonna lie. But it's all stuff that I'm really excited to use. I always get a little carried away in these videos, but I'm passionate. I love my makeup. So yeah, I'm really excited to dig into everything. Definitely gonna be motivated to wear makeup as much as I can over the next couple months. But I am a makeup lover. For me, it's not really a bad problem to have. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the video there. I feel like this is gonna be an absolute mammoth to edit. Hopefully the sound is acceptable. If you hate it, I'm sorry. I'll try to find a better mic in the meantime. But yeah, either way, thank you so much for spending your time watching my long Shop My Stash, especially if you made it right to the end. I really appreciate you checking out my channel and spending your precious time watching my videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!